begin?
This is episode 100 of Storytime with Julian. Today is June the 6th. No, it's not. That's a lie. Today is June the 10th of 2021. We started this journey back in March the 24th of 2020. And here we are with episode 100. Some of this, some of that, and thus, and that's it. We made it to 100 episodes and it's time for the big break. But before we go, we're going to revisit a few of our faves. N.K. Jemisin, Rion Amilcar Scott, Nana Kwame Adjei-Brenyah, and of course, the one and only, one of our own, Angel Monique. And listen, after Tuesday's episode, we just can't leave Just Be Simple out there where we found him. So we're going to get in a simple story too and find out what happened to our boy. This has been one hell of a first volume, and I hope that all of you stay tuned for volume two, because this goodbye ain't gone. It's just a break. But I want to thank each and every one of you for an amazing, amazing show. This show does not exist in a vacuum. This show does not exist purely off the sound of my voice or off the graphics or even off of the books that we read and the fantastic literature that we have been able to bring attention to. This show exists out of the energy and the enthusiasm and the camaraderie and the closeness and the participation and the sharing of each and every one of you, both in a material sense and in an immaterial, hard to pin down, but impossible to ignore uh, supernatural sense. Each and every one of you brings an energy to this show, whether it's through your comments or just through your presence. I thrill to see your names pop up, to see the reactions come on, to see you sharing this experience with your friends, with your families. I am beyond honored and humbled to witness you all creating your own stories and uh, humbled and thrilled that you would share those stories with me so that I can share with the rest of this family. Um, it has been sincerely one of the greatest honors of my life. Before we begin, I just want to look in and see who we've got who has announced themselves. I see Kamisha's here. We see that we've got Olive and Boo. I see Benny B is in the house. It's fantastic to know that everybody's kind of settling in. Getting their dinner ready to be read to. I know some folks like to get a little glass of wine. Um, Thank you so much, Benny B. It's a thrill to be at 100 episodes, and it doesn't feel like that much time has passed, but it has. For those who have been here for all of it, for most of it, I'm so grateful not just for your presence but for your consistency as well. Judy Lee, thank you so much. It's been amazing sharing this with you all. Um, and please, as Melanin Monroe reminds, make sure that you hit that like and subscribe button on YouTube, because just because the live reads are pausing during this hiatus doesn't mean that there won't be content. For those of you all who haven't caught all 100 episodes, there's going to be some stuff showing up, some stuff from the recesses in the attic that are going to be big deals. Thank you so much, Stephen. I appreciate you. And also from Soul Monkey, appreciate the both of y'all's. Kitty Foxy, thank you so much. And yeah, we are indeed grateful for each and every one of you. We are going to jump right in with chapter 6 of The Tempering of Chocolate. Now, we had Angel Monique on for the pre-read to catch up those of you all who might have missed a little bit of it. I hope you got a chance to get caught up, because we're not doing any prologue or any prelude. We're going right into it. I'm reading it right off my phone, fresh from the emails. So, you're getting it hot and fresh, baby. The hot light's on. You understand what I'm saying? Let's begin. I want to turn the comments on so I can see when y'all start saying stuff. Coco wasn't sure which was louder, the cracks of thunder as the storm raged, or the steady pounding of her heart. Both filled her ears as she ran through the upstairs hallway. The sound of the man screaming had shaken off the last of her exhaustion. Adrenaline coursed through her, moving her forward quicker than she could form coherent thoughts. She needed to take a moment to gather herself and figure out where she should start looking for the children. Running blindly through this 3-story house wasn't the wisest course of action, and she had no idea what dangers she might be facing. She ran past a full-length mirror at the end of a hallway just as lightning lit up the interior of the house. Once again tonight, she looked like a banshee. Her hair had come loose and hung wildly to her waist, around her shoulders, and in her face. She pushed it away and noticed that her tear-stricken face and wild eyes. She gripped the flashlight defensively, ready to attack anyone who might have turned the corner. Without warning, a searing pain in her scar stopped her in her tracks. She grabbed onto an end table until the pain subsided. A clack of thunder startled her. Lightning followed, bringing a sinking feeling and impending doom. She wasn't safe. She and the children weren't alone. He was definitely here. She opened her mouth to call out to the children again, but instead she cried in frustration. She couldn't. She had no idea who else was here. What if they found her? She couldn't chance making too much noise. She pushed herself to her feet and ran toward the kitchen staircase. God, please, please help me, she sobbed. She hastily made her way to the kitchen and began opening pantry doors, cabinets, and checking the dumbwaiter for the children. She prayed they were hiding here. With every empty closet, her fear intensified. She leaned toward the front wing of the house as she ran through the kitchen, but she didn't feel them there. She took a deep breath. She was all over the place. The house had many rooms and hiding places, and she had discovered and hidden in all of them over the years. She knew the shorter, more direct route to the library was to leave the kitchen, go through the backyard, and enter from the door on the far side of the yard. She'd have to run through the storm, but it was her best option. The storm raged. Thunder boomed angrily, and the rain came down as white sheets dancing on the wind. She knew this land. The tree cover all around the house and in some places pressed against bedroom windows would offer some protection. She flung open the doors wide, tried to make her escape, and suddenly, as though the action had flipped a switch, everything went pitch black. The power was out. She flipped the switch on the flashlight, barely registering the weak beam that indicated low battery, and ran into the night. The moment her feet left the patio, she slipped in the mud and fell to the ground. She stood and wiped off as much as she could. Okay, girl, I know you're scared and all, but Mommy and Mommy would have a fit if they saw you out here looking like a struggling mess. Get it together, Coco. Women in this family did not do struggle nor messes, she said to herself, and she moved a bit slower into the yard. She decided to go out to the far side of the property just in case the children had gone toward the bayou. Charlie and Mikey weren't especially fond of the water, but she knew they would go for the sake of keeping their younger siblings out of harm's way. The rain and the churning of the water in the bayou were so loud that she felt it was safe enough to call out for them. Mikey? Charlie? Where are y'all? It's okay to answer if you're out here. It's just Coco. She got no answer. The further she moved away from the house, the more she fell into the grip of anxiety. Her breathing was ragged and labored. The house wasn't providing the light it had always provided her. She was confused and afraid. She turned to head back toward the library. Rain came down relentlessly. She was soaked through and freezing, yet she ran on until she tripped over something large and hard. When she looked up, she was nose to snout with Brutus, Charlie's gator. She had fallen again, this time face first into a patch of bougainvillea. She spat out dirt as the flowers lovingly wiped her face. She felt around and pulled her flashlight from the mud. When she clicked the switch, nothing happened. She'd lost her only light source. Brutus! Look what you've done. Brutus looked on as sympathetically as any alligator could. What she perceived as nonchalance on his part enraged her. She turned her back to him and screamed into the deluge, Damn it! Why is this happening? What is happening? Why did you choose me? I'm not strong enough to do this. I'm tired. And then quietly, she asked into the night, Why'd you leave me? And she sobbed. Feeling sorry for herself, she sat and allowed angry tears to fall in the darkness of the storm. Brutus, who had been sitting behind her, nudged her with his snout. She reached back and pushed him away. He nudged her again. She turned on him, cold and angry as the rain. What? Do I have something else you'd like to break? She asked sharply. The gator's yellow eyes peered at her in the darkness. They held her own. And then clearly, in her head, she heard Brutus speak in a deep voice filled with the wisdom of the ages. This is the calling that was placed before you, upon you, before the Creator whispered the existence of your matrilineal line. You hold the strength of all whom walked this path before you. Draw from them. Of course you're tired and afraid. Those feelings are permissible, but they cannot grow roots. Fear has no place on this land, so you may not wallow. Acknowledge it, embrace it, then use it to your advantage. Dry those tears. Get up now, Coco. You got work to do. With that, Brutus turned and slowly ambled back toward the water. Coco sat in the middle of the bougainvillea bush. Coco sat in the middle of the bougainvillea bush, thinking about what the alligator said. She didn't know whom had sent the message, but she knew that God and her grandmother had heard her cries. She stood, took a breath, and ran for the trees at the side of the house. She needed a plan. The thick cover of the oak trees held the rain off enough to give more of a shower than a storm. She began fashioning her hair into a ponytail when a tree extended its branch to brush against her shoulder and gave her a long piece of moss. She thanked it for its offering and used it to tie her hair back from her face. There was nothing she could do about her clothes, but when she shivered, the tree limbs leaned in and their leaves and moss began to brush against her in an attempt to keep her warm. She sat on the ground to catch her breath and still her thoughts. She had been sitting with her head on her knees for a moment when she looked up in time to see a lightning bug appear as a tiny point of light hovering near her. "Well, hello. It sure would have been nice to see you and a few hundred of your siblings when the lights went out," she said. She allowed a small smile to play across her lips and put her head back down. She was getting ready to say a prayer when the glow from the bug seemed so bright that it had to be right in front of her eyelids. "Listen, When Coco lifted her head, the tree cover cast the soft golden glow of 1,000 lightning bugs. She sat with her mouth agape and realized that there were so many she could see her way to the library door. She laughed and clapped her hands delightedly. They glowed all around her. She jumped to her feet and held out her hands. Lightning bugs lighted in her palms, while others lit on her shoulders, in her hair, and one on the tip of her nose. She danced while the trees hummed beautiful music and the flowers sang in harmony. For a moment, the magic of it all seemed so normal. She leaned against a tree to catch her breath and look ahead. This was the long way around. Somehow, in the darkness, she had blindly run back to the side of the house her bedroom was on. At least she could see the entire way now. She cautioned herself to beware of the trapdoor on this side of the house so that she wouldn't trip on it. It wasn't visible to the eye of anyone who didn't bear the family name, as was the way of most things on this land. The door had been there for hundreds of years, but one summer when Coco was 8, during a game of hide and seek, one of her cousins had opened it and hid in the room that it led to without telling anyone. After many hours of searching the land and bayou, a very frightened mama and the 3 cousins found her papi and the room filled in. Her papi had the room filled in with cement and the top sealed so that no one would ever be lost again. A stirring of leaves and branches got her attention, and she looked up to see the magnolia and wisteria trees beneath her window, signaling her to get moving. She picked up the flashlight. The weight of it in her hands as a weapon gave her a bit of comfort. She bowed her head to the oak trees for providing shelter and began to walk to the library, surrounded by the glow of lightning bugs that lit her way. The walk along this side of the house gave her time to think. She was comforted at the thought that the children would probably be in the library. She would get to them, they would find Jonathan, and they would all have a chat about why he was there and how he got on their property. Earlier tonight, she had prepared herself to die at his hands to protect what she believed in. She hoped for his sake that he was prepared to do the same at hers. He would not ever leave this property again. She was close enough to see the handle of the trapdoor ahead. With each step, uneasiness began to creep in. She tried to use it to her advantage as she had been instructed, but it got the best of her and she panicked. She began to run and scattered the lightning bugs in every direction. She was alone in the darkness again. She passed the gleaming handle of the door, and the pain of the scar gripped her so intensely that it jerked her backward and caused her body to lurch, knocking her to the ground. She grabbed her ear and forced herself to take a deep breath until her heart slowed down. She drank in deep breaths of the cool night air and shivered. She took a few steps to see if she was steady enough to walk the rest of the way. The rain had slowed down, lightning was further away, and thunder was a faint shadow of a rumble, but it was still pitch black. She arrived at the library door and traced her finger along the 3 faded cocoa pods etched just below the stained glass. She hurriedly kissed her finger and waited for the house to welcome her again. A moment later, the door swung open, and she was inside. The door closed and locked behind her, and she could hear the familiar click and whir of the ceiling fan come to life. The power had been restored. She smirked. The timing of it all. A fresh wave of panic rose in her throat when she realized the children weren't here. She had gone through hell to get to this room. This was their safe space. This is where she told them to stay. The room was bathed in the soft light that she loved, but without them it seemed bright. Everything seemed too large and out of place. Her heart raced and her mouth went dry. She felt dizzy and sick. She walked to the shelf where she'd told Mari to leave the book with the cicada on the cover. She kissed her finger and reached just under the lip of the bookshelf for the cocoa pod etched into the wood when she heard singing coming from below her. It was the song from her dream. It was beautiful. It was Bovie. She heard the scream. It was raw and guttural, like it was ripped from a man's throat. A loud ringing in her ears signaled the beginnings of pain from the scar. She grabbed it, and when she pulled her hand away, there was blood in her palm. She attempted to complete the ritual, to open the bookshelf once more, but she had become disoriented. She began to say the steps aloud. Kiss my finger. Uh, I'm supposed to touch something. Where's the pod? Kiss my finger. She stumbled. Her arms flailed as she reached for the shelf, but there was nothing but air to catch. One last pass through the air, and her hand grazed the shelf and knocked over the book with the cicada cover. It fell to the floor and lay open, and she fell to her knees, moaning low in her throat. She collapsed on top of it, and everything went silent. The pages were blank. She closed her eyes and swallowed hard. Something crawled across her hand, and the familiar buzz, recognized from every summer of her life, filled her ears. She opened her eyes to see a cicada lazily crawling across the back of her hand. She peered at it, puzzled, but closed her eyes, unable to make sense of what was happening. She felt it before it happened. Her own scream. It began its journey the usual way, by following that familiar route from deep in her belly, gathering speed as it moved through her diaphragm, charging toward her throat. It launched itself off her tongue, barreled through her diaphragm, crashed against her teeth where it crested before it forced her mouth open and made its escape into the open air. Her eyes opened in time to see the once blank pages filled with petals from the magnolia tree in the garden. She blinked and they burst into an explosion of sound and scent, filling the room and leaving her unconscious on the floor. And thus endeth the chapter. You all were just treated to chapter 6 or chapter 6 of The Tempering of Chocolate by our very own Angel Monique. And I, for one, am excited as hell to find out what in the hells is going on. Baby ghost girl, come downstairs talking about. I'm sorry, I can't. This is an incredible chapter. It's amazing how we just heard a chapter of a woman running down the hall, rifling through the pantries, and running into the backyard before running back in the house to go to the library. And I would swear the whole time I could feel somebody chasing her. Like you could really feel the energy of the movement. Really, really amazing story. I want to get some of your comments before we move into the next one. Just want to Want to catch some of that. First of all, wonderful to see Armand here. What's happening, Armand? Foxy Kitty is all caught up, so she's ready to go. Good to see Erica Goodman. Hey, Sadiq, what's happening, homie? I really appreciate seeing you here. It's one of my acting friends. We were in a couple of shows together. It's always good to see folks from my other fam joining in with this fam. Thank you so much, Gwen. And yes, y'all should send your griot special tip. I ain't turning down nothing but my collar, and I ain't even got a collar. So yeah. Ah, Latricia said Coco don't need to be blaming Brutus because she went out in the rain against good sense. Tell her, because I felt like Brutus was like, "What? I live here. This this marshland. This what I do. Why are you here? Why are you literally? Why are you tripping?" um, Brutus is a little scary. Yeah, you just kind of minding your own business, looking for your ghost children, and run into an alligator. I imagine it would be a little bit of a scary situation. The comparisons of her temperament and the weather, a masterstroke. Listen, Angel Monique does her thing consistently. Consistent. Brutus did not have time for all that crying. Brutus was not here where he's like, listen, you need to get your shit together. Since the dawn of creation. I don't even remember what he said. I just know that whatever he said, it read really intense. I gave it the most intensity I could. Angel got me in a forest, y'all. Come through descriptions and wonderful writing. Say word. Say word. Now that Goofy Lightning Bug song is in my head, you know, I need to know what the song is, and I don't know. I don't know. Listen, okay, especially now that I know they got STDs and shit, I don't want a cicada on me. She a better one than me, man. I'm laying in the library halfway knocked out, and the cicada just walking on my absolutely not. This is when you go get your alligator friend. Like, handle my light work. Soul Monkey Publication says the story is outstanding. Kamisha Umstead says brava. Foxy Kitty can't wait to hear the remainder or read the remainder of the story. Latricia loves this story, as do I. Of course, Angel sends her thanks. Let me see. She closed her eyes and swallowed her heart. And some more greetings. Hey, Siobhan, thank you so much for the happy greetings. And it's good to see Homie Lou back with us again. Stephen says Angel Monique, outstanding. Armand says Brutus is that dude. Brutus is indeed that dude. That's a scary, scary alligator. Just, I mean, it's one thing to just have an alligator sitting there chilling in your face when you fall into the bushes. It's another thing to have the alligator be like, look here, I'm finna drop some knowledge on you because you don't even know your destiny, you know? But listen, we will come back. We've got a lot of story to move through. So we are going to take it back to from whence we came, to the first book that we ever read on Storytime with Julian. A lot of you all know this book here. This is How Long Till Black Future Month. This is now on a bunch of y'all's shelves. So the story that I'm reading tonight, I'm probably not introducing you to. You've probably read it already during your free time. But for those of you all who have not, we are going to now listen to The U Train. Hey, girl. Yeah, I know. I'm sorry. Just haven't been feeling all that social lately. How are you? That's good. That's good. How's the little mister? Oh, that's hilarious. That boy's a mess. Me? Well, you know. Hey, did you know the B train doesn't run at night? I found out a couple of weekends ago. I was coming home from a date, one of those fun.com deals, Friday night about 11. Not so fun after all. Kind of boring, really. Anyway, I was standing there on the platform, might have been 34th Street, and the place was dead empty. I think I saw some homeless dude on the other platform, but that was it. The sign in the train said the train ran weekdays. Right? Me too. Monday through Friday, right? No, it means weekdays. After 9 o'clock, it's like Cinderella after the ball. I know, huh? So anyway, there I was waiting. An F train came and I ignored it. Doesn't go to my stop. Then a D, then a V. It was so quiet in there between trays, I could hear my own heartbeat. I don't like being in there when it's that empty. Sometimes it's not safe, but you know, a cab would have cost $30 and I don't get paid till next week. But finally, someone comes in, this woman, And she looks at me like I'm crazy and tells me the bee doesn't run at night, like I should have known that from the sign. Weekdays. Whatever. You ever look down the tunnels when you're waiting? Sometimes you can see trains moving around in there, passing by on their way to other stations or heading for other platforms. You can't really see much besides the signs, just that glowing colored circle with a letter and a number at the center, floating in the dark like a beady little eye. Sometimes it feels like the trains are curled up in burrows down there. They come out into the light when people gather on the platform and call out to them just the right way. Okay, Miss Thing, I'll be sure to heckle you at the next open mic night. But I could have sworn I saw a bee on one of them. Yeah, girl, rough day. There was this meeting at work. Everybody in my office wants to get their 2 cents in, making themselves look good, right? I just want the meeting over so I can go back to work. So they're going round and round, everybody trying to outdo everybody else with cool ideas, and nothing's getting done. So finally, I clear my throat and suggest maybe we should move on to the next agenda item. They look at me like I was the shit on the bottom of their shoes, girl. One of them, the prissy blonde from marketing, she says, if you don't want to be a part of the team, at least don't ruin it for the rest of us. Right there, in front of everybody. I didn't say a word for the rest of the meeting. I couldn't think of anything to say. I felt like, hell, I don't know, like kicking her ass, like crying. It was the most. I hate these people. And you know what? When the meeting ended, still nothing had been done. 3 hours wasted, I swear. Then on the way home, I got off at the wrong stop, one of those endless something street stations above Columbus Circle. Can't remember which, there's so many. I was on the platform forever waiting for the one. And I was worried because I got a lot of those stops that get skipped during rush hour, and I couldn't find the map. Finally, the train came along, and I was about to step in when I realized there was nobody on it. Middle of rush hour, every seat empty. So I looked up to see if there was an out of service sign, and I saw it was the 9, not the 1. So then I said the 9. Yes, I'm sure it was the 9. Really? Oh, yeah. I remember something about that one getting shut down, but I'm pretty sure it was the 9. Maybe they break them out of the mothballs during rush hour. I don't know. Maybe the conductor just rolled up an old sign. Anyway, I didn't get on it, but that meant I had to sit there another half hour before a 1 finally came along. Pain in the ass. And for what? Nothing got done. Yeah, I quit dulldate.com. The only people who were emailing me lately were those old guys having midlife crises looking for somebody to make their ex-wives jealous, and too many of the guys my age have problems. I never did tell you about the last date, did I? He kept talking about his ex-girlfriend and how she only broke up with him because she was going through a hard time. Then he started crying. No, I didn't leave. He wasn't an ass about it. He was just lonely and needed somebody to talk to, so I let him talk. Hell, I know how he feels. I can't say if I'm over Nick yet. I don't miss him anymore. Nick the dick. I would have killed him if I'd married him. You know that. But sometimes I wonder if that was my one chance. Maybe you're not supposed to squander love when it comes along, even if he is a dick. Maybe I should have tried. Okay. I know, right? Okay. I said you could slap me. Damn, this thing happened on the way home, though. Did you know there's a P train? Yeah, I never heard of it either. I saw it blow through on the express track. I tried to see by the side signs where it was going, but it was too fast. I didn't see anybody in it. Maybe it runs in some boondocky part of the city, like Queens. Shut up. I know you're from there. I was really feeling bad today, girl. Gray days do a number on me. That's when I wake up and really notice the empty spot in the bed beside me. Days like that are going through the motions days. I get up and get ready for work and go off to a boring job with people I hate, and then in the evenings I come home. The trains are always crowded. A million people packed together like sardines, and no one talks to anyone else. No one looks at anyone else. Gray days are when I feel more than any other like I don't belong here. There was a T train waiting at the platform this morning. Did you see it? No, I never heard of the T either. Maybe it's new. The doors were open when I first stepped onto the platform, but when other people showed up, the doors closed real fast and the train left. I wonder where it went. Sometimes I wonder if I'm strong enough for this city. Well, because I'm nice. I mean, too nice. Like the other day, I took my clothes to this laundromat in my neighborhood for drop off service. Damn, I miss having a washer and dryer in the house. I know. Next time I move. So this place, I stopped and dropped off all my clothes, and when I went back, half my shit was stained red. The woman apologized, but then tried to tell me it was my fault for giving her a red shirt that wasn't color fast. It was color fast, at least when you wash it in cold with all the other dark colored stuff. But all that stuff had been messed up. But all the stuff that had been messed up was light colored, a beige sweater, a white t-shirt. So they must have put the shirt in with the whites. And that's my fault? But I didn't say anything. I just walked off and started looking for another laundromat. Would a real New Yorker have done that? I should have pitched a fit. I should have demanded my money back at least, or compensation for the damaged stuff. I should have threatened to sue. But I didn't say anything. I've been chewing on that for weeks, trying to figure out why I didn't. But it's not just that. My coworkers, my ex, my building super. I've been after him for 6 weeks to get that crack in my ceiling fixed. Maybe if I was more of a bitch, he'd come. Am I weak? Can people smell that? Maybe I'm not meant for big city life. Maybe I should have stayed back in that dinky little town instead of running up here after I broke up with Nick. Thanks, girl. You don't know how it helps to hear that. I wish I could save up this stuff and replay it in my head whenever I start to wonder. I wonder all the time these days. So it was the K today. It didn't come out of the tunnel, actually. I was at 57th on the way home from work. I looked down the end tunnel and there was a K there, just sitting there, maybe 50 feet in. It must have been on a sidetrack because when the N came and went, the K was gone. I looked it up this time. The K stopped running in 88. Not that it ever ran on this line at all. I think it was checking me out, you know? Yeah, that's what I think. In fact, I think they're all checking me out. All the defunct lines, the dead lines. I think they never really go away. I mean, every day, somewhere, somebody slips up and says, take the 1-9 when they should just say the 1. Or they say the T when they mean the V or whatever. Too many people look into those empty tunnels and expect to see something where nothing is. And the trains, maybe they hear all that. Maybe they think they're still needed. So maybe they stick around waiting to be called. It probably doesn't take much. Just one person, really, wanting badly enough to go, hell, wherever it is they go. I wonder if, well, why shouldn't I say things like that? I kind of want to know, you know, where they go. Wouldn't you? Okay, I won't say it anymore. I'm sorry. I'm probably hallucinating this shit anyway. Carbon monoxide or rat poisoning or something. All kinds of crap down there. Maybe I'm allergic and this is, I don't know, anaphylactic bullshit as opposed to garden variety bullshit. You're the only person I know who would take me seriously when I say things like this. That's why I love you, girl. Thanks for listening, though. Really. I don't know what I'd do without you. Would you ever tell me if I got on your nerves? It's not crazy. You're married, you've got a baby and another on the way, you're always busy, you've got a life. I know you'll always be my friend, but I can't call you when I want to go somewhere on a Friday night. You'd have to find a sitter, call your husband, rearrange your whole life. You can't come over when I'm bored and lonely and just want somebody to sit around and watch TV with. I mean, I can call you, but I know, but I'm always worried the phone will wake up somebody in your house. Sometimes I need more from you than you can give, you know? I know that. I try not to impose, even though you're all I don't mean to impose. So just tell me, okay? If I ever get on your nerves, just say you'll tell me if I do. It's okay, really. I'll understand. Hey girl, long time no speak. What's up? I'm fine. No, really. I'm sorry I worried you. I know. I was kind of talking crazy. I kind of felt crazy, but I'm fine now. Oh, yeah. So I took the U after work one night. No, there was never a U. I mean, I saw it, a big black letter on a plain white circle, kind of like an I, but it's not a real line. It's one of the spares. in case they need to create a new line sometimes, like X and Y. It's a line that never was. But I saw it that day peeking out at me from the tunnel, checking me out. I don't know how it heard me. The subways are so loud, but I just whispered, "Well, come on then." And it rolled right in. There was no conductor. All the seats were wide open, shiny and clean. So I got on it. I rolled all the way to the end of the line. Oh, girl, I'm sorry. My cell barely gets any signal out here. Can you hear me? If we get cut off, I'll call you back later. I just wanted you to know I was all right. And, you can visit me anytime you want, okay? Because I know you hate it sometimes. The routine, giving up your dreams, or at least postponing them to have kids. It was so stupid of me to assume that just because you had a family, everything was perfect for you. I understand that now. I'm sorry for making you put up with all my shit. You've been such a good friend. So I want to return the favor. Sometimes all you need to do is take the chance, Try something new. Close your eyes. Take a step forward, then look around to see where you are. If you take that step, you'll find me. Doesn't matter where, really. Even if you end up in a bad place, I'll find you. I've got your back. Didn't you know that already? Catch me up about the new baby sometime. I've got so much to tell you, too. Gotta go. Sorry. I'll catch you later, okay? Train's coming. And thus endeth the story. So that one was called The U Train. And that is from Black Future Month. Yo. That was an interesting story. Like, I got kind of lost in. I'm like, where were these ghost trains doing? And it kind of messed with me a little bit. So I started writing a horror anthology, a collection of interconnected horror stories. Yeah, I tried it. One of my dear friends who was actually on the show, she and I were having a conversation about things that scared her, and I was talking about trains, and I didn't know that this story existed. And so we were talking about how anybody who's got any good sense knows not to get on the one empty car in, when the rest of the train is crowded, because invariably it's going to be something really foul on that car. And decided to explore what that something foul might be. And so I had actually started a story, and the crazy thing was I started with a defunct line, with the one car on the train having the wrong sign for a defunct line. So it was really kind of messing with me reading that. Uh, I'm looking through the comments, and this is my favorite one from my boy Tony Agent. Those trains are either going to Hogwarts or hell, or both. Cause yeah, I don't know where sis ended up. I'm glad she's happy, but no, no, sir, no, ma'am. I'm gonna stick with the trains I know. You feel me? What I'm saying? Definitely sticking with the trains I know. This was good. This was good. I enjoyed that. For those of you who haven't yet picked up a copy of How Long to Black Future Month, this is what it looks like. I strongly encourage you to pick up this book. This is a beautiful, beautiful, powerful collection of some really amazing short stories. And one of the wonderful things about this collection is that the short stories aren't all one type. There's some fantasy, there's some sci-fi, there's some um, allegory, there's some magical realism, there's just, she takes you all over the place, and it all blends perfectly. Let the liquor tell it. I really think you should check it out. We are going to move into some more familiar territory. I mentioned during the pre-read that something happened when we started reading this book. When we brought out Friday Black, collection of stories by Nana Kwame Adjei-Brenyah, there was a definite shift in the energy of the show. Powerful collection of stories, short, sweet, um, definitely engaging, sometimes very challenging, And one of my favorite short stories, I think we've all talked about what my favorite short story is. And my second favorite short story is in this book. But one of my favorite short stories of all time is a tiny little gem, a little nugget of a story included here in Friday Black, and it's called Things My Mother Said. And I think anybody who knows me and my life understands why this story would resonate with me in particular. So we are going to read Things My Mother Said. This is actually one of the two. This is the only story from tonight that is a repeat of a read, unless time permits us to read another one from Rion. But I'm going to bookend this one with Rion's story, which comes up next. So let me go ahead and act like I'm professional and have a real show. Boom. Things My Mother Said by Nana Kwame Adjei-Brenyah. My mother's favorite thing to say to me was, "I'm not your friend." She'd often say, "You're my firstborn son, my only son," as a reminder not to die. She loved saying, as a way to keep me humble, "I didn't have a mother. You're lucky. You have a mother." When the TV went dark, my mother said, "Good. Now you can read more." Then our house at the bottom of the hill lost all its life: gas, water, electric. One day I came home to the warm smell of chicken and rice. I hadn't been able to steal a second burger in the cafeteria at school that day. My stomach whined. At home, the fridge had become a casket bearing nothing. The range and oven had become decorations meant to make a dying box look like a home. Hunger colored those days. "Where is this from?" I asked, already carving out a healthy portion from a worn gray pot. My mother pretended she didn't hear me. She was studying the pages of her massive white Bible at the kitchen table. Wide sheets of light pressed through the window and draped her. She spent her days reading that big Bible, its pages worn to film as her fingers fluttered from psalm to psalm. She'd be asleep by the splash of dusk. I, on the other hand, would be up for hours, trying to do homework by the blue light of my cell phone, clinging to its light until it died. At night, hunger and I huddled together. I'd fall asleep thinking one day I would change everything. That afternoon, I ate the chicken and rice. It tasted like pepper and smoke. "How did you make this, Mom?" I asked again. She looked up from her Bible. "Orade, did you pray over your food? Did you say your psalms today?" I ate the food quickly, greedily. I chewed the bones till they splintered in my mouth. Another thing my mother often said, "You are the best thing that ever happened to me." Later, when I was in the backyard, hesitant to return to the dying box as the sun dipped away, I found a patch of charred grass and a small circle of blackened stones and pebbles, an ash moon branded into a sea of wild green grass. I touched a gray rock partially blackened by flame to see if it was still hot. I felt proud and ashamed. For the record, I know I was lucky. I know I am lucky. I don't think you're stupid. I know I'm not your friend. I hope you can be proud of me. And thus endeth the story. That's Things My Mother Said by Nana Kwame Adjei-Brenyah. When I first read that story, I didn't know what to expect. I didn't know that it would be so short. I chose it based simply, purely on the title. That was it. It didn't take much. I didn't even know if it was going to be a long one. I just knew that I was going to read that one, and it just touched me in a way that transformed the way I approached the rest of the book. I think for all of the fantasy and the speculation and the sci-fi and the even traces of horror and the social commentary that this book is full of, this small book is filled with all of those things, it is perhaps the most human story in the book. And it colored the way I perceive the rest of it. And in turn, the way that I perceived the author. I ain't know him, but I felt like I knew him. I felt like we were kin, cut from the same cloth. Um, Absolutely love this story. And I just wanted to share it with you all again, because as we close out this particular chapter on this particular volume, I just want to revisit some of the things that I love, the stories, the authors, the moments. And that's one of my favorites. We still got a little bit of time. And listen, the show might run a little long tonight, but I hope you rock with me the entire time because it's worth it, you know? I wanted to bring up another one from Rion Amilcar Scott. Now, this is from Insurrections, which of the two books that Rion has, this is not the one that we typically come from. We typically read from The World Doesn't Require You. But Insurrections was his first book. And during wordplay, a lot of us got our first taste of Insurrections. This is a really short story in Insurrections called Boxing Day. I wanted to read it because I remember wordplay and going back and forth between Nana and Rion's works and the way that they selected works, you know, kind of just they gave me a list of their favorite pieces, their favorite short pieces. And, and one of them would give me a piece to read and I would read it out loud. And then the other one, hearing the piece that I just read, would be like, okay, boom, I'm gonna hit you with this one. And it was dope kind of watching their strategies as they responded to each other's works. Things my mother said, 2 pages in Friday Black. This story is called Boxing Day. And let me go ahead and act like I got a show. This story is called Boxing Day, and it is 2.5 pages, if that, out of Insurrections. Daddy's pissed. I can tell because I can hear his gloved fist slapping the punching bag downstairs. It's flat, clapping noise. The louder the sound, the more pissed he's become. He says every day he punches the bag is Boxing Day, but today is actually Boxing Day. I would stay out of the basement away from my punch-drunk father and every delusion he's used to sew himself together, but my mother sent me to descend into his Hades to deliver a message. He notices me and begins to speak as he punches the bag, breathing hard between phrases. My father, he says, used to always tell me about the day after Christmas, how he and Grandma and Grandpappy and all the kids would head out to the beach. Can you believe that? He stops to catch his heavy breath and then starts punching and talking again. We, suffering in the Arctic weather, the goddamn river's frozen and shit. I bet your grandfather is swimming with tropical fish right now. When I was a kid, all he did was tell me about it. Look, kid, the days before you got here was the best, and now all we do is watch our breath steam. Now he's back where he wants to be. Happy fucking Boxing Day. Daddy's in one of his moods. That steady, persistent, low-level blue. Every word is a bomb filled with cynicism. I'm always surprised by the burn of his napalm. That morning, I woke early to catch some of the cartoons in the basement. My father says I'm too old for cartoons, so I didn't want him to see me slink downstairs. As I rounded the corner and approached the stairhead, I saw Daddy with his gloves hanging about his neck from a set of black strings. Stay up here, kid, he said. I'm about to beat that thing till it cries. Yeah, gonna be down there a while. He doesn't need to say, I don't want you around. His shrug, the curt dance of his eyes, they speak for him. Daddy's blue moods never care about anyone. Every minute when he's like this, I'm in a 4-dimensional world made of endless time, hours laying next to hours, hours stacked atop hours into the sky. This broken man reeling from daily compromise, sarcasm, and boxing, the only things keeping him together. As for me, I'm one of many chains round his neck that hold him in a cold, tiny basement of mediocrity. My father is shirtless and slick with sweat, swaying before the punching bag. He leans into his maroon opponent, clinging to the thing like he needs it in order to stand. Ref, he shouts. Ref, this motherfucker tried to bite my ear. Dad, say hello to Tyson, kid. Dad, Mom said there's not enough tofu for all of us. and it's your turn to cook and wash the dishes. I'm the heavyweight champion of the goddamn world, and that woman wants me to eat bean sprouts? I need some red meat, a steak or something. I'll eat your children. He bares his teeth and shakes his head and lays rapid-fire blows into the punching dad. It's vegetarian day, Dad. Seriously, kid, tell your mother to go jump in a lake. I can't tell my mother to jump in a lake. When I'm back upstairs, I tell her he's on his way. Later, when my mother sends me back into the dim, cold basement, Daddy is Muhammad Ali standing over Sonny Liston. He's Mike Tyson coming into the ring like a vicious animal. Then he's Tyson whimpering after losing to Buster Douglas. His whimpering stops being a joke and crosses over into real tears, his face a rain-slicked street at midnight. He leans into the bag like Tyson leaned into Don King after his loss to Douglas. I rarely saw my dad embrace my mother the way he's holding that bag. I don't know whether to turn and tiptoe back upstairs or go to him, hug him the way he says men are not to hug. Dad, I say. When our eyes meet, he squares his slumped shoulders and throws a weak set of punches at the bag. Tyson in 91, he says. Good impression, huh? Huh? He wipes his tears with his forearm and punches the bag again and again and again. And thus endeth the story. So when I saw how short this story was and I saw the title, and then I saw the opening line, I said, for sure, we got to put this one back to back with things my mother said. I don't know how true this is. I haven't had a chance to talk to Rion about this story, but I'm gonna try and hit him up and see if I can get some commentary from him on that. This is my first time reading it. I legit only saw the first couple of lines and the length and said, let me bookend these because it triggered a memory for me. And tonight's show, in commemoration of all the wonderful memories we've created together, I just wanted to revisit some of my favorite memories. Let me check the time. Okay, listen, it's 11:04. I could read a simple story and we could close out the night and we would be good. Yeah. There is a short story. It's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 pages. Kind of short story called The Slapsmith in Insurrections. Part of me kind of wants to read it, but I feel like I've read this or at least part of it to you already. I really couldn't remember. And I'm trying to also not mess up the balance of it. You know what? I'm going to hold The Slapsmith back. And I tell you what, from time to time, there might be a pop-up or something. It might not be a live episode, but there might be a pop-up or something. And we could read that then. I just saw a request. Let me see. Don't worry, Just Be Simple is on deck. Just Be Simple's on deck. I'm trying to see something real quick. Well, that's frustrating. Yeah, that's super frustrating. Let me try one more thing. I am looking for, so there was a request that I read one of my stories, and I was looking for one of my stories on this device, um, but I couldn't find one. I don't know that I have one here. Um, I don't have one easily accessible because I hadn't really planned to read one of mine. But well, y'all got any? Tell you what, I found one. Yeah. All right. Let's see if we can do this. This is so freaking hard to navigate. Thank you for your patience with me. I should put up my little back in 5 minutes, John. Page 103. So, there's a collection that I edited and put together, and it's an erotica collection between two authors that I used to mess with. We used to all kick it and write together. It's a lot more complicated than that. This is a story that I contributed to it. It's called Butterflies. For every night I wake up in the wee butterflies. For every night I wake up hungry in the wee hours, stomach rumbling, mouth watering for some sweet, necessary thing I cannot have and should not want. I owe you butterflies. Let me act like I got a show. Put that one up. I owe you butterflies. You have created in me a hunger, an imperative, incessant hunger that grips me in the middle of my sweetest dreams, choking me with need and filling my imagination with scents and tastes that crave cravings for treats I am not sure exist. How do I crave what I have not tasted? How will I know when that craving is satisfied? There's no relief in the kitchen. The cupboards may well overflow, but the thing that grips my gut, the need that has me salivating, the hunger that you caused, cannot be satisfied by common comestibles. There is no larder for lust. What I have a taste for, the exotic and decadent. My tongue circles my maw, looking for scraps of things like coffee and caramel and dark black chocolate, things that stay heavy in the mouth, that linger and tell tales on your breath. I crave flesh that feels and tastes like dessert, something souffle delicate that I will rend and suck as I would the marrow from the bone, leaving it hollow and emptied of its vital pudding. In these late hours, appetite supersedes etiquette, so I'll employ neither napkin nor spoon. The beast that grips my gut has gripped me too, and accordingly, I will also not use my hands. Presented with my craving, I will pounce on it and consume with relish every quivering morsel, breathing in the delightful dish and suffocating in my own rapacity, my face painted with the glistening excess that illustrates the depravity such hunger has sunken me to, hunched over the mess before me, brow lowered, eyes darting, arms curled in a protective ring to keep my victuals mine. My stomach growls in the twilight hours, and this is your fault. And for this, I owe you butterflies. I owe you a fluttering in your belly that will not be calmed by anything you know in nature. I owe you a series of rapid rises and falls that you dare not breathe during, for fear the very weight of the air in your lungs will crush the delicate thing delighting you inside. I owe you a debt of gossamer crisscrossing your abdomen, swarming in the pit of your stomach, filling you with air you cannot release, and a rumbling that threatens to make you burst. The hunger you put in my belly will be repaid with a swarm in yours, and we will find each other, bellies distended with hunger and air, and rub them together until friction gives way to satisfaction. But not yet. I owe you butterflies. And while you sit in this state, mouth agape, let me put this chrysalis on your tongue, filled with the dormant words that mean nothing till they take wing and flutter to life, leaving you breathless and still and filled. And me, licking my chops, finally relieved of this hunger, satisfied. So that was Butterflies. It's one of the pieces that I snuck into a collection called Old Friends with Benefits, which is an erotica collection that has only been released in limited release as an ebook to people who were on my Patreon during the time that I was working on the editing of it. And that's it. That's that. I hope you liked it. It's the only thing that I had available at the moment. I hate my friends. I was actually looking for Niggas and Flies, and I was fully intending to read that one, but Niggas and Flies wasn't available, so you got Butterflies instead. Um, and I'm glad that you all liked the story. I'm glad that you all enjoyed it. Let's wrap this thing up. I think we have covered so much of our favorites, and this has been a really fun night for me. I hope you guys are having fun too. Um, I hate to pause the show, but the break is necessary. Sometimes, just like a butterfly, you really kind of have to stop the world. You got to create a space for yourself. And you have to fearlessly, not knowing what it's going to turn into, be prepared to change and transform. I have no idea how things will emerge when I come back from this break. I have no idea what kind of new creation story time will be. I don't know. But the rest is necessary for growth. It's just part of nature. Maybe this is how I become the butterfly. We last left Simple having a blue evening. Zarita had Joyce had left him, and Zarita had basically ruined his life with an impromptu birthday party. I'm not gonna say Zarita ruined his life. Simple set things up to be what they were, and it's kind of hard to imagine what would come next. When we left, we left our narrator sitting at the bar, and Simple was going off to see if Joyce would even look at him. So this, our final story for this volume, is called A Letter from Baltimore. It's a simple story. You know them. Some of y'all love them. Let's go. As I walked into Patty's, there stood Simple, grinning from ear to ear. He greeted me like a long-lost brother, pulling me toward the bar as he announced, "This evening the biz is on me, and I have the wherewithal to pay for 2 rounds and a half, so pick up and drink down." What, may I ask, is the occasion for this sudden conviviality? Tonight is not Saturday. No, said Simple, but it is a new day right on, a new week and a new year. They say a man's life changes every 7 years. I am in the change. Here, read this letter that I found laying on the radiator in the hall this evening when I come in that I know my landlady tried to peer through the envelope. It's from my wife, Isabel. I have no desire to pry into your personal correspondence, I said. Read it, man, read it, urged Simple. Desire or not, read it. I want to hear it in words out loud what Mrs. Simple says, because I cannot believe my eyes. Unfold it, go ahead. She writes a nice clear hand, I said. Big round letters. You can tell this woman is a positive character. I see she's still in Baltimore, too. Well, here goes. Dear Mr. Simple, Jess, at last I have found a man who loves me enough to pay for my divorce, which is more than you was ever willing to do, and you are my husband. Now listen, this man is a mail clerk and owns 2 houses, one of which he has got rented and the other one he needs somebody to take care of it. His first wife being dead, so he wants me for his second. He knows I have been married once before and am still married in name only to you, as you have not been willing to pay for my legal paper which grants me freedom from our entanglement. This man is willing to pay for it, but he says I will have to file the claim. He says he will get a lawyer to furnish the grounds I have to swear on, and that you also have to swear on, unless you want a contest. I do not want no contest. You hear me? All I want is my divorce, since I have found a nice man willing to marry me and pay for it too. I am writing to find out if you will please not make no contest out of this, because he has never done nothing to you, only do you a favor by bearing the expenses of the grounds that rightly belong to a husband. Let me hear from you this evening, as he has already passed the point where he could wait. Once sincerely yours, but not now, Isabel. I suppose you would have no intention of cross-filing, I said. I would not cross that wife of mine no kind of way, said Simple, with a file nor otherwise. My last contest was that woman was such that the police had to protect me. So that man can have her. He can have her. I do not even want a copy of the diploma. A divorce paper does not look like a diploma, I said. I knew a woman once who framed her divorce and hung it on the wall, said Simple. But if my wife serves me with one, I will throw it out. That would render it invalid, I said. Also null and void. You will have to sign all the papers and mail them back to Baltimore so the proceedings can go through. Just so they can get out my sight, said Simple. Joyce would not want another woman's divorce papers hanging around. If she did, Joyce could have bought them papers herself by now. I give her the opportunity. I am always puzzled as to why you have been so unwilling to pay for your own divorce, I said. I told Isabel when we busted up that she had shared my bed, she had shared my board, my liquor, and my Murray's, but that I did not intend to share another thing with her from that day to this, not even a divorce. That is why I would not pay for it. Let that other man pay for it, and they can share it together. But it will free you to marry Joyce, I said. Joyce will be free to marry me, you mean? Joyce is not being divorced from anyone. You are the one who's being divorced, which means I will no longer be free then, said Simple. I will be married again before the gold seal is hardly out from under the stamper. That would be good for you. Perhaps you'll settle down, stay home, stop running around nights. I will, said Simple, because I will have a home to stay at. I will not have to live in bars to keep from looking at my landlady in the face. Maybe married, you can save a little money and get somewhere in the world. Them would be my best intentions, said Simple. Facts is, I always did have ambitions. When I were a little boy in Virginia, my grandmama told me to hitch my wagon to a star. Did you try? I did, said Simple, but it must have been a dog star. Well, now things are different. Joyce is a good girl. You love her and she loves you. So this time you should make a go of it, and I will dance at your wedding. You will be my best man, said Simple. Well, of course, I'd be delighted, but maybe you'd like a relative or some other more intimate friend for your best man. After all, Joyce doesn't know me very well. I know you, said Simple, which is enough. As many beers as you have bought me right here at this bar, and as often as you lent me a buck when I was trying to make the week, you deserve to be my best man. So no arguments. Now that my luck has turned, Daddy-O, you will be there at the finish. Thanks, old man, I said. Certainly you seem to be coming out ahead at last. A free divorce from a wife you don't like. No contest, no expenses, and all but for the formalities, a new wife you love. I am coming out ahead for once, said Simple, which just goes to prove what's in that little toast I learned from my Uncle Tej. Listen fluently. When you look at this life, you'll find it ain't nothing but a race. If you can't be the winning horse, son, at least try to place. I believe I have placed. So let's drink to it. You have won, I said, providing that Negro in Baltimore keep his promise to my wife. If he don't, just as sure as my name is Simple, I will go down there and beat his head. Do you mean to say that you'd lay hands on your first wife's second husband? Listen, I married Isabel for better or for worse. She couldn't do no better than to get a free divorce, said Simple. That man made my wife a promise. He better not betray her. If he do, he'll have me to contend with because I dare him to stand in my way. I'll fix him. Just like that toast says. If they box you on the curve, boy, jockey your way to the rail. And when you get on the inside track, sail, sail, sail. In a race, daddy-o, one thing you will find. There ain't no way to be out in front without showing your tail to the horse behind. One regrets, I said, that after all, life is a conflict. I leave them regrets to you, said Simple. And thus endeth the story. All right, y'all. So apparently, apparently Simple, I don't know what kind of schmoozing he did in between the last story and this story, but apparently he found a way to get Joyce to come back to him. More power to him, I guess. Not sharing the Murrays cracked me up too. Not sharing the Murrays was mad funny. You're welcome, Kamisha. It was Kamisha who asked that I read an original story, followed by Melanin Monroe. Benny B in the house said, "Whoa, I'm not sure to what." Yes, Simple Creeping Wizardita had finally caught up to him. This part, when I saw that word, y'all, when I saw entanglement all the way back then. Listen, Simple gets on my nerves, but I love him. I think that is a sentiment shared broadly in this circle. Listen, y'all, it's just after 11:23. This has been episode 100, and this is it for a while. We won't, you won't be seeing us live for some time, but make sure that you subscribe, direct your friends to the channel, and pop in from time to time. There will be content. You won't be at a loss for content, but the lives are going to be on hold for a little while we do some things. All right. If you do still want to hear my voice a couple of times or once a week, you can find me on This Is Called The Show. This is the show that I am one of the partners in hosting with my boy. Hold up, where is it? There we go. With my boy, Mr. Solutions. And you can like that page on Facebook, facebook.com/ This Is Called The Show. Check us out, man. It's a good show. It's black stuff. You know me. I'm whatever everything I do is gonna be black. And it's a good blackety black show. For those of you all who feel so inclined, yeah, by all means, feel free to tip your griot. Just because the lives are going on hold for a little while doesn't mean that the show is not going to continue advancing. And if you just want to say like, hey, congratulations, buy a brother a cup of coffee. I don't do energy drinks anymore, but I do be drinking coffee, man. I be drinking coffee. Thank you all so much, every single one of you, for coming out tonight, for being a part of this 100th episode. This has been quite a journey. This has really been quite a journey, and I didn't expect it. I never expected it to go this far, and I didn't know that I was going to love it this much. But here we are. Here we are. Episode 100, some of that and some of this, and thus endeth the episode. Thanks a lot, y'all. This has been, yeah, I'm good. I'm fine. This has been Storytime with Julian, and we'll be back sooner than you think.